We know how cut politics works and has now for the best part of 20 years. We are in a world of trouble. So, if we're going to increase the spending, but we don't want to increase the deficits, then of course there's only one way to balance the books. The T word.
Terrorist. Tourette's. Transparency.
The answer is tax.
Which is why economists say things like the GST should be increased. The suggestion they're going that it should go across everything, not things that are currently exempt, and it should go up to 15%. The only problem is we don't even make $100 billion out of the GST. Instead, personal income tax is the best part of $300 billion. So we still wouldn't be able to touch the sides. And the Prime Minister has made it very clear, after people like myself have turned around and said, hang on, what, you're going to increase taxes? Where was this promise at the last election? Well, of course, he knows that if he increases taxes, he's going to aggravate a whole bunch of people, which is why he says this.
I never thought just being a pussycat could get so complicated.
Our tax policy, the only tax policy that we're implementing is the one that we took to the election.
This is a man who prior to the election made so many promises. He is failing to deliver on so many of them.
When a politician makes a commitment before an election, they keep it, and I intend to do just that.
My word is my bond, but I had my fingers crossed.
But as you know, one area of billions of dollars that are being handed out by fellow taxpayers to people who purchase properties one or more to invest, of course, is the world of negative gearing. We know that the unions in particular want negative gearing changes. They want it limited down to perhaps just one property. I don't have a real problem with a system that is capped at one or maybe two joints, because all of us think somebody's taking the proverbial at 20, 50, 100, but these are very, very small numbers of people that are doing it. So if the Prime Minister says, bugger the GST thing, we're not going to be increasing taxes, let's pay attention now to clueless Claire O'Neill, because she is the Housing Minister. It is her purview as to whether or not there will be a change in negative gearing. What does she say is now off the table?
A really sober assessment of the national security situation.
Oh, she's annoying.
Is winding back on negative gearing on the table or off the table?
Look, the PM, I think, was really clear about this yesterday. Our tax policy as a government is really clear. We're giving a tax cut to every single Australian taxpayer. And, I don't think we've ever had a bigger footy fan in the lodge than we do at the Albanese. So this is the thing I know that's going to really worry him.
Oh, she's annoying. So, if they're not going to increase taxes, and nobody wants them to increase taxes, and they're not going to cut spending because cutting spending is cuts, evil Liberal Party, then what is the fear of the next 40 years or so, that deficit is no longer a prediction, as Paul Heyman would say. That it is a spoiler. That is your future Australia. So if you are somebody who is committed to no new taxes, where I am, no increase in taxes, where I am, well, then you've got to cut spending. But if you cut spending, well, people start to lose their brain. So no tax changes, no spending changes, that's your future, Australia. And $1 trillion debt will become 2, eventually 3, and it'll be people long after the losers in charge now that will be forced to run a country with that much debt. It's a disgrace. In the same way they talk about climate change and the need to deal with climate change policy because it's intergenerational theft, because if we leave them a worse environment, then when we've ruined the planet, well, guess what they're doing to the Australian economy? Exactly the same thing.
Of course that is what I would do. That's who I am.